Imagine standing at the heart of the world. The air isn't just air here. It is a living, breathing entity that clings to your skin like a damp shroud. It is thick, heavy, with the ancient scent of wet earth and decaying vegetation, and so incredibly humid it feels as though you are breathing through a warm, saturated sponge. You are deep within the Amazon, a place where the sunlight rarely reaches the floor, leaving the world beneath the canopy in a state of perpetual emerald twilight. But it isn't just the darkness that unnerves you, it is the overwhelming prickling sensation that you are being watched. Even when the silence seems absolute, you know that thousands of eyes are tracking your every move from the shadows. From the massive ridges of giant buttress roots to the tangled vines swaying high above, life is watching, assessing, and waiting. You are a guest in a kingdom that does not acknowledge human sovereignty, a place where we are not the dominant species, but merely a curious observer in a world that has existed long before our ancestors even learned to walk. For decades, we have been taught to call this place the lungs of our planet, a vast green expanse that exhales the oxygen we need to survive. But that description, while beautiful, is woefully incomplete. The Amazon is not just a lung, it is a vault, a massive biological safe house containing secrets that could rewrite the very foundation of human history and medicine. Within this green fortress lie the answers to questions we haven't even dared to ask yet. It is a library of life where the books are written in the complex language of DNA, and many of the chapters are being burned before we can even turn the page. This is the great paradox of our modern age. We are closer than ever to unlocking the mysteries of this wild frontier, yet we are losing it at a rate that defies human logic. We are exploring the most complex ecosystem on Earth at the exact moment it faces its greatest existential threat. The scale of the unknown here is staggering. Scientists estimate that a new species is discovered in the Amazon every 2 days. Think about that for a moment. Every 48 hours, a creature or a plant that was previously unknown to science is identified for the first time. It could be a vibrant bird with a song that mimics the falling rain, a frog with skin that holds the key to a revolutionary new antibiotic, or a tree that has survived for centuries by communicating with its neighbors through a hidden underground network. And yet, for every species we find, countless others vanish into the smoke of deforestation before they can be named. We are in a frantic race against time, trying to catalog the treasures of the vault while the walls are closing in. We still know more about the surface of Mars or the topography of the moon than we do about what lies beneath the thick interlocking leaves of the Amazonian canopy. For centuries, explorers entered this green hell in search of gold and glory, often driven by the legend of El Dorado, the fabled city of immense wealth. They returned with harrowing tales of fever, starvation, and hostile terrain, leading the world to believe the Amazon was a pristine, uninhabited wilderness, a place where civilization could never take root. But today, technology is proving those explorers wrong. Through the eyes of satellites and the precision of lidars, we are discovering that the myths of massive civilizations were actually true. Geometric earthworks and interconnected roads are emerging from the dirt, revealing that millions of people once thrived here in sophisticated societies. To some, this is a nightmare of predatory giants. To others, it is a biological Eden of evolutionary perfection. The truth lies in the middle. It is a place of brutal efficiency where the smallest fungus can control the mind of an insect and where the largest trees influence the weather thousands of miles away. There are unseen forces here, rivers that flow through the sky that regulate the heartbeat of our planet. A tree in Brazil can cause rain in Texas, a connection so profound it challenges everything we know. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The journey has only just begun, and the secrets of the Green Vault are more terrifying and beautiful than you imagined. We are stepping into a world where the past and future collide in a struggle for survival. This is the story of the Amazon, the beating heart of our world, and the secrets it refuses to give up easily. The long-held illusion of the Amazon as a virgin wilderness, a land untouched until Europeans arrived, is finally crumbling. For centuries, we viewed this jungle as a natural barrier to progress, too hostile for complex societies to flourish. However, the ground beneath the vines tells a story of sophisticated engineering and lost voices. The jungle was not empty. It was a sprawling, managed garden populated by civilizations invisible for centuries. We are now understanding that the wild Amazon we see today is actually a feral orchard, once sculpted by millions of human hands. This revelation came from the sky. Scientists now use LiDAR technology, light detection and ranging, to perform a digital exorcism on the landscape. By firing laser pulses from aircraft through the canopy, Researchers see the ground surface in high definition. What they found was staggering. Beneath the green curtains, the lasers revealed massive geometric earthworks, squares, circles, and hexagons that defy primitive labels. These were foundations of plazas, ceremonial centers, and raised roads stretching for miles, connecting settlements like a prehistoric superhighway. The forest hid a map of human ambition, waiting for technology to catch up. Evidence of this handiwork is terra preta, or black earth. Natural Amazonian soil is nutrient poor, yet explorers found patches of rich, fertile soil that remains productive hundreds of years later. This is a miracle of ancient biochar engineering. These ghost civilizations created this man-made soil by mixing charcoal and organic waste, transforming the acidic earth into a self-regenerating garden. Terra Preta suggests the Amazon once sustained millions of people. It is a legacy of sustainability that proves ancient engineers solve problems we still struggle with today, creating a carbon-rich environment that actually traps greenhouse gases. In regions like the Upper Xingu, we see garden cities. Unlike stone pyramids, these urban centers were integrated into the forest. They were clusters of towns organized with regional planning that rivals modern urban design. There were circular plazas, defensive moats, and man-made fish ponds, all interconnected by wide roads. These weren't just people living in the forest, they were masters of it, turning it into a productive landscape. At its peak, the Amazonian population perhaps reached 10 million inhabitants. This was a thriving world existing in harmony with the canopy above, where humans lived within its productive embrace. Why did they disappear? The tragedy is likely biological. European diseases traveled faster than explorers. These silent killers rippled through trade networks long before a foreign soldier set foot in the interior. By the time the forest was discovered, the great cities were morgues. The jungle reclaimed the wooden structures and mounds. Within generations, the stone and earth were swallowed by moss and roots, and the memory of these civilizations was buried under 100 feet of foliage, leaving only whispers in the soil and ghosts in the branches. Echoes of this lost world resonate in the 400 plus uncontacted tribes living in the deepest reaches. These groups are the last guardians of ancient wisdom and descendants of those who survived the collapse. They live in balance with the land, using knowledge to navigate a world that would kill an outsider in hours. They are the human heartbeat of the Green Vault, protecting secrets we haven't begun to catalog. Yet as we uncover these dead histories, the forest reminds us it is alive. The transition from silent ruins to the vibrant, lethal present is sudden. Behind every ancient earthwork lies a biological minefield, where evolution has crafted the most efficient killers. The history is in the soil, but the danger is in the venom and teeth of the living, where survival is the only law. We move from the ghosts of the past into a relentless evolutionary battlefield where every leaf hides a potential threat. This is not a land that remembers humanity with fondness, but one that has adapted to consume anything that dares to linger too long in the shadows of the giants. The ancient roads are silent, but the life that pulses through the undergrowth is louder and more aggressive than it has ever been before. To survive here requires more than just basic survival instincts. It demands a sharp mind and a sharper eye for the hidden dangers of the untamed Amazon jungle. In this emerald expanse, peace is a temporary illusion. Beneath the lush canopy, the Amazon exists as the world's most relentless evolutionary battlefield. It is a theater of war that has been running for millions of years, an arms race where the stakes are life or death every second. Here, every organism, from the lowliest moss to the tall kapok tree, has been forced to innovate or face extinction. This is survival of the sharpest. In this arena, the concept of innocence does not exist. Every creature you see is either a master of the hunt or a prodigy of escape, locked in a perpetual dance of survival. Among the most feared combatants are the giants that rule the waterways. Imagine the stillness of a lagoon where the surface looks like glass. Beneath that surface lurks the black caiman, an apex predator that can grow to over 15 feet. It is a living relic of a prehistoric age, a master of patience that can remain submerged for hours, waiting for vibrations to betray its next meal. Its eyes, glowing like amber in the moonlight, track heat signatures of thirsty mammals. Then there is the green anaconda. It doesn't rely on speed, it relies on an overwhelming, crushing weight. A thick coil of muscle hidden within the reeds, the anaconda can swallow a deer whole, its body a sensory organ designed to detect the heartbeat. When you are in their domain, you are not a visitor, you are potential energy. Yet, in the Amazon, size is often a distraction from the lethal. You might keep your eyes on the horizon for a jaguar, but threat lies beneath a single leaf. Take the bullet ant. Known to local tribes as the 24-hour ant, its sting is the most painful in animal kingdom. Victims describe the sensation as being shot. A wave of heat and throbbing that lasts for a full day. Even more terrifying is the Brazilian wandering spider. It does not wait in a web. It roams the forest floor at night. Its venom is a cocktail of neurotoxins that can paralyze a nervous system. These tiny engineers of death prove that in the jungle, the most dangerous weapons are often the ones you cannot see. This arms race isn't limited to teeth and stingers. The forest is a vast laboratory of chemical warfare. Plants, unable to flee, have developed toxic defenses as complex as any modern pharmaceutical. Some trees produce sap that causes blindness, while others harbor alkaloids that can stop a heart. These same poisons have become some of humanity's greatest medical tools. Curare, the vine extract used by hunters to paralyze prey, became a cornerstone of medicine as a component of anesthesia. The very chemicals designed to kill in the wild are the ones we now use to save lives. For those without poison, the jungle offers the art of deception. Mimicry here has reached a level of perfection. There are katydids looking like a rotting leaf, complete with fungal spots and holes etched into their wings. There are caterpillars that, when threatened, inflate their bodies to mimic the head of a venomous pit viper, swaying to terrify attackers. This is nature's master of disguise segment, where looking like something else is the only way to avoid becoming a meal. Every shadow and every twig is a lie, a biological illusion crafted over countless generations of selection. However, the most insidious dangers are the ones that are invisible. Expeditions have been brought to their knees not by jaguars, but by the microscopic inhabitants of mud and water. Parasites and microbes turn this green paradise into a biological minefield. There are creatures that enter the body through a tiny cut, and others that thrive in the digestive tracts of those who drink from a stream. This is green hell that early explorers spoke of, a place where environment itself seems to work against the presence of humans. But as we look deeper into this forest, we realize that the most terrifying force in the Amazon isn't a predator with teeth or a plant with poison. There is something much smaller, something far more sinister that doesn't just kill its host, but hijacks its essence. In the heart of this evolutionary madness, there is shadow that stretches beyond simple survival. There is a presence that can take control of the mind itself, turning a creature into a vessel for its own propagation. As we move from the visible giants to these microscopic masters, we begin to understand that the true power of the Amazon isn't found in its strength, but in its absolute control over life. Look up from the blood-soaked leaf litter and the chemical warfare of the forest floor, and you will find an ocean that has no shores. High above the tallest kapok trees, a silent, invisible tide is rising every day. This is the phenomenon of evapotranspiration, a biological miracle where the forest acts as a massive pulsing heart, pumping 20 billion tons of water vapor into the atmosphere. This invisible river carries more water than the Amazon River itself discharges into the Atlantic. These are the flying rivers, the atmospheric currents that dictate the rhythm of life for an entire continent. The scale is truly planetary. These rivers are the lifeblood of the global climate system, stabilizing temperatures far beyond the borders of Brazil. When a single large tree releases up to 1,000 liters of water a day, it isn't just hydrating the air, it is creating the weather. This vapor travels thousands of miles, striking the wall of the Andes and turning back to irrigate South America, even influencing rainfall in the American Midwest. Without this skyward ocean, the green vault would wither. We think of the forest as a recipient of rain, but the Amazon is the architect of its own storms. As we descend from these airy heights back toward the roots, we enter a realm of perpetual twilight. On the forest floor, the struggle for survival takes on a slower, more ghostly pace. Only 2% of the sun's light ever manages to pierce through the thick, overlapping layers of foliage. Here, in the sunless world, life has evolved to thrive in near total darkness. Fungi and microorganisms work in the shadows, breaking down the massive amounts of organic matter that fall from above. Plants grow with enormous, broad leaves to catch every stray photon, while others live as parasites off the nutrients of others. It is a humid, still world where the air is heavy with the scent of wet earth and decay. Every fallen leaf and toppled giant becomes a city for specialized organisms that never see the sun. In this darkness, the rules of biology shift, favoring the patient and the efficient. It is a world of shadows where the silence is only broken by the rustle of a predator moving through the gloom. The ground itself is not always solid. For 6 months every year, the Amazon undergoes a transformation into the Várzea, the flooded forest. As rivers swell with meltwater, the forest floor vanishes under 30 feet of water. Trees here live submerged for half the year, their roots breathing through specialized pores while fish swim through their branches. In this aquatic labyrinth, we find the pirarucu, one of the world's largest freshwater fish. A living fossil with armored scales, it has evolved a primitive lung to gulp air when oxygen levels drop. It shares these corridors with the pink river dolphin, or boto. These intelligent creatures are the stuff of legend. Local folklore speaks of the boto transforming into humans, but the biological reality is just as strange. Their pink hue comes from capillaries near the skin, and their flexible necks allow them to navigate submerged roots with surgical precision. They are spectral guardians of the flooded realm. Life in the Amazon is stratified into distinct vertical kingdoms. While the bottom is a world of water, the emergent layer, the tops of the tallest trees, is a world of blinding sun. Many creatures spend their entire lives in this high-altitude sanctuary, never once touching the ground hundreds of feet below. They are the masters of the vertical, navigating a maze of branches that never ends. This stratification creates a multi-layered biological machine where every inch of space is occupied. Yet as we marvel at these grand systems, the sky rivers and vertical cities, we must return to the microscopic level. Below the majesty of the canopy, a much darker power is at work. The soil isn't just a foundation, it is a network and sometimes a trap. The invisible threat is waiting in the dirt, ready to turn the architecture of life into a theater of horror, where even the smallest organism can seize control of a giant. It is here that the mind snatchers lurk, weaving their silent web through the earth that sustains giants. Beneath the emerald canopy, where the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and ancient rot, a silent microscopic war is being waged. It is here that we encounter the most terrifying architect of the Amazon, the Ophiocordyceps. Known to many as the zombie fungus, this organism does not merely kill, it consumes the very identity of its host. Imagine an ant, a diligent worker of the forest floor, accidentally brushing against a single invisible spore. There is no immediate pain, no warning siren, but inside, the takeover has begun. The fungus enters the ant's bloodstream, threading its way through the creature's nervous system like a phantom puppeteer. It avoids the brain at first, keeping the host alive and mobile, but it begins to alter its behavior. The ant, once a vital part of a collective colony, becomes a solitary wanderer, driven by a chemical command it cannot understand. The ant abandons its duties and begins an agonizing climb. It ascends a sapling to a precise height, usually 25 centimeters above the soil, where the humidity and temperature are perfect for the fungus to thrive. There, in a final involuntary act, the ant sinks its mandibles into the primary vein of a leaf in a permanent death grip. As the ant dies, a dark parasitic stalk erupts from the base of its skull, eventually showering new spores onto the unsuspecting trails below. This is the dark side of the Amazon's interconnectedness, a biological hijacking that turns life into a vessel for a mindless, fungal agenda. Yet this same kingdom of fungi provides the very foundation for the forest's survival. While some fungi are predators, others are the great communicators of the jungle. Beneath your feet lies the wood wide web, a vast, subterranean network of mycorrhizal fungi that links the roots of individual trees into a single, sentient superorganism. This is not just a collection of plants. It is a biological internet. Through these fungal threads, trees share more than just water and phosphorus. They exchange complex information. When a tree on one side of a grove is attacked by beetles, it sends chemical distress signals through the fungal network, prompting its neighbors to bolster their own immune defenses before the insects arrive. Older, larger mother trees use this network to shuttle life-sustaining sugars to struggling saplings in the shade, ensuring the next generation survives the sunless floor. In this hidden world, the concept of the individual disappears, replaced by a massive cooperative intelligence that manages the health of the entire ecosystem. This spirit of collective labor is mirrored in the leafcutter ants, the premier farmers of the Amazon. Watch them for a moment, and you will see an endless green caravan of vibrating leaves moving across the floor. These ants do not eat the leaves they carry. Instead, they transport them into massive underground cities that can house up to 8 million inhabitants. Deep within these subterranean fortresses, The ants use the leaves as fertilizer for their own private fungal gardens. This specific fungus exists nowhere else in the world. It is a domesticated crop that the ants have cultivated for millions of years. They weed the garden, treat it with antibiotics produced by their own bodies, and in return, the fungus provides the only food source the colony's larvae can digest. It is a perfect, ancient symbiosis that allows these tiny creatures to process more vegetation than almost any other animal group in the forest, acting as the ultimate recyclers of the jungle's nutrients. As the sun sets and the deep shadows of the forest floor grow even darker, the Amazon reveals another secret of its microbial gold mine. In the pitch blackness, the forest begins to glow. This is the realm of bioluminescence, where ghost mushrooms and glowing larvae turn the rotting logs into a terrestrial galaxy. This light isn't for beauty, it is a functional tool used to lure prey or signal to potential mates in a world where vision is a luxury. Every handful of Amazonian soil is a genetic frontier containing more bacterial and fungal diversity than an entire continent's worth of surface life. Scientists believe that within this microscopic muck lie the blueprints for the next generation of antibiotics, antivirals, and perhaps even the keys to carbon sequestration. The health of the entire planet is governed by these invisible managers, the recyclers and connectors that turn death back into life. But this intricate, ancient balance is far more fragile than its vast scale suggests. We are beginning to realize that the forest's strength is also its greatest vulnerability. The invisible threads of the wood wide web and the precise climate requirements of the mind-snatching fungi are tied to a moisture cycle that is under threat. If the temperature rises too high or the rains fail for too long, the silent conversation beneath the earth will cease. The forest has a breaking point, a threshold where it can no longer heal its own wounds or feed its own giants. We are approaching a moment where the biological machinery might simply stall, shifting the Amazon from a cradle of life into something far more volatile. The guardians of this green vault are watching the signals, knowing that if the web snaps, the collapse will be felt in every corner of the globe. The warnings are no longer whispers. They are the signals of a giant gasping for air. For eons, the Amazon has been the world's most reliable thermostat, but today, we are witnessing the emergence of the tipping point, the ultimate antagonist in this biological drama. This is the moment when the green vault begins to crack. Scientists call it the dieback, a catastrophic scenario where the forest loses its ability to generate its own rain. Because the Amazon recycles moisture through the flying rivers, every tree lost is a puncture in the cooling system. If deforestation reaches a critical threshold, estimated to be between 20 and 25%, the entire cycle could collapse. Without enough trees to pump water back into the atmosphere, the humid jungle would transform into a dry, fire-prone savanna. This isn't a slow transition, it is a sudden, irreversible shift that would rewrite the geography of the planet. This shift is already turning the Amazon from our greatest ally into a terrifying liability. For decades, we viewed the forest as a carbon sink, a sponge soaking up the excess carbon dioxide produced by industrial civilizations. But the latest data suggests a grim reversal. Due to increasing fires and deliberate clearing, parts of the Amazon are now becoming a carbon source. Instead of breathing in the world's pollution, the burning wood and rotting stumps are releasing gigatons of stored carbon back into the atmosphere. It is as if the Earth's primary lung has developed a fever, exhaling the very toxins it once purified. This carbon bomb is ticking, and its explosion would accelerate global warming far beyond our current capacity to adapt. The destruction is fueled by the illegal frontiers, where the law of the jungle is replaced by the greed of the Garimpos. These illegal gold miners are the silent predators of the river systems. To extract gold from the sediment, they use mercury, a potent neurotoxin that binds to the precious metal. Once separated, the mercury is dumped directly into the tributaries of the Amazon River. It does not stay there. It moves up the food chain, from microorganisms to fish, and eventually into the bodies of the indigenous tribes who have lived in harmony with these waters for millennia. Even the apex predators, like the black caiman and green anaconda, are now carrying traces of heavy metals in their blood. A tragic irony for creatures that have survived millions of years of evolution, only to be poisoned by a metal they cannot see. In this rush for temporary wealth, we are burning the lost pharmacy before we can even read its labels. Every acre of forest lost might contain the unique chemical compound needed to treat a future pandemic or cure a terminal illness. The plants that spent millions of years perfecting chemical warfare against insects hold secrets for medicine that no laboratory on Earth could replicate. When a specific vine goes extinct, a potential medical breakthrough vanishes forever. We are effectively deleting the world's most advanced biological database to make room for cattle ranching, trading eternal wisdom for ephemeral profit. The consequences ripple far beyond South America. The sky rivers dictate the rainfall that feeds the agricultural heartlands of North America and Europe. If the Amazon stops breathing, the rain in Texas fails. The corn belts of the Midwest wither. The global weather system is a single web. And the Amazon is its beating heart. If that heart stops, the circulatory system of the entire planet fails with it. This is no longer just a local environmental issue. It is a life-on-Earth crisis. Yet, amidst this encroaching darkness, there is a fierce resistance. The indigenous tribes, the last guardians, are merging ancestral wisdom with cutting-edge technology. Deep in the territory of the Kayapo and the Yanomami, young tribe members use drones to monitor their borders for illegal logging camps. They use GPS to map their sacred lands and document environmental crimes, sending data to global courts via satellite. This partnership is the thin green line standing against the tipping point. They understand that the forest is not a resource, but a relative to be protected. As the conflict intensifies, we find ourselves at a global crossroads. The hope lies in the forest's resilience. The library is still mostly intact, and the story of the Amazon remains a race to understand the value of the unknown before it disappears into the smoke of history. Imagine walking through a library that has stood for 55 million years. Every towering ceiba tree is a massive bookshelf, and every translucent leaf is a fragile page inscribed with the complex chemical formulas for life itself. Yet, as we stand at the threshold of this vast repository of biological wisdom, we are witnessing a tragedy of incomprehensible proportions. Burning the Amazon is not merely an environmental disaster, it is like torching the Great Library of Alexandria. While we have yet to read 90% of the books it contains. Within those unread pages are the blueprints for medicines we cannot yet imagine, and the evolutionary secrets of how life persists against all odds. When a single species vanishes before it is ever named, we lose a unique, irreplaceable answer to a question we haven't even thought to ask. This isn't just a loss of nature, it is a loss of our own potential. The struggle for the Amazon serves as a stark mirror, reflecting the deepest contradictions and values of the human species. It forces us to confront a fundamental, uncomfortable choice. Do we value the short-term profit of a few decades, or the long-term survival of our descendants? Our treatment of this green vault reveals whether we are merely hungry consumers of the Earth's bounty or responsible stewards of its future. For too long, we have viewed the jungle as a resource to be extracted, a frontier to be conquered, or a wilderness to be feared. But the science of the 21st century is teaching us a humbler, more profound lesson. We are beginning to see that the health of our global economy, our food security, and our very breath are tied to the integrity of this distant emerald world. To save the Amazon is to save the best parts of ourselves, our curiosity, our foresight, and our capacity for reverence. Despite our sophisticated satellites and high-tech drones, the Amazon remains a realm of deep, unsolved riddles that challenge our understanding of geology and biology. Deep in the heart of the Peruvian jungle lies the boiling river of Mayantuyacu, a geothermal anomaly where the water reaches temperatures hot enough to cook any creature that falls in, yet it exists many miles away from the nearest active volcano. Explorers still return from the most remote, unmapped headwaters speaking of sounds that have no biological match, strange metallic hums and rhythmic thrumming that defy every modern acoustic database. There are vast regions of the sunless floor that no modern human has ever stepped upon, hidden valleys where the evolutionary clock may have taken entirely different, unrecognizable paths. These mysteries remind us that we share this planet with a force far greater and more complex than our civilization. The Amazon is not a conquered territory, it is a sovereign entity that still guards its most profound secrets behind an ancient wall of heat, moisture, and thorns. You might live thousands of miles away in a concrete jungle of glass and steel, yet your daily life is inextricably linked to a tree you may never actually see. The very oxygen filling your lungs right now carries the invisible signature of the Amazon's breath. The stable climate that allows your crops to grow and your cities to remain safely above the rising tides is a direct gift from this magnificent biological engine. Every time you take a breath, you are participating in a global conversation that began millions of years ago in the humid basins of South America. The sky rivers are the invisible veins of the world, and we are all part of the same circulatory system. This connection is not a poetic metaphor. It is a hard, inescapable biological reality. Our response to the Amazon's plight must be an intellectual and spiritual awakening for our species. We must transition from seeing the forest as them and recognize it as us. We must learn to value the unknown simply because it exists, acknowledging that some secrets are worth more than any currency. The Amazon is not a place on a map. It is the beating heart of a living, breathing planet. It is the final frontier of our humility. The forest does not belong to us. We belong to the forest.